Yep, there is a real fear in America that gay marriage will somehow upend heterosexual unions and throw the entire moral fabric of the country into a tailspin. No pun intended. I know several gay men and gay women involved in very committed and honest relationships with other gay men and gay women that would put a lot of straight married couples to shame. They are monogamous and caring and devoted and affectionate. Besides, why shouldn't they get married? Why should straight married couples be the only ones who never have sex, argue incessantly over what to watch on TV, and walk around on a daily basis harboring a deep and bottomless well of resentment and anger pieced together brick by a murderous brick over years and years of both real and imagined slights and emotional warfare and wallpaper choices? Shit. I say marry every gay and willing couple off right now. Mark my words. Just like the rest of us, within 18 months, at least half of them will come running back to court begging to be released from such an endlessly mind and libido-numbing fate. Open ass, insert the Bill of Rights. Here's another inarguable factoid. Racial and ethnic stereotypes exist because they are true. Okay? For instance, don't tell me the Irish don't love to drink. I am Irish. We invented whiskey, for Christ's sake. You know what whiskey means in Gaelic? Water of life. I rest my case. Of whiskey. On your politically correct goddamn lap. Years ago, I wrote a piece for the New York Post about the St. Patrick's Day parade in which I made fun of the fact that most of the Irish and a few Puerto Rican guys I knew would annually, which means every single fucking year, spend the unofficially holy day painting their faces green and getting drunk and then beating the living shit out of each other after an argument broke out over who had better pitching, the Yankees or the Mets. The Irish Defamation Society threatened to file a lawsuit against me for perpetrating an awful and ruinous myth about Irish Americans. Several weeks went by, and no lawsuit emerged. Why? Because they soon realized that all I had to do was call up any local news channel and request footage from any St. Patrick's Day parade held since the invention of the television camera, and there, in front of our eyes, would be green-faced Irish Americans in a drunken punch-up with their own cousins and best friends and actual brothers, many times right in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral. The Puerto Ricans and the New York Mets didn't enter the equation until they both started playing baseball during the 1960s. Otherwise, case closed. The right to bear arms and the right to vote and the Equal Rights Amendment and freedom of speech and every other piece of paper evidence you can want to throw into the pile may guarantee you the right to spout stupidity. See Newt Gingrich, Mel Gibson, Barry Bonds, et al. But it also guarantees that the rest of us don't have to buy into it. You want to build a giant fence to keep all the Mexicans out? Fine. Who's going to build the fence? Where are we going to get our cheap Mexican weed? Who's going to host the Dog Whisperer? Huh? Our country has been so driven into debt by a drug-addled, inbred, dry drunk of the Republican Revolution, a man who ran an oil company into the ground. Do you know how hard it is not to make money off of oil? My daughter's Chihuahua could pull it off. That we are now borrowing money from China. China, the same country that tried to kill our dogs with poisoned dog food 3 years ago. China, where there are 17 billion people and 8 automobiles. China, a country so corrupt that if I lived there and typed the words China sucks, as I did just now, within a day I would have disappeared off the face of the earth, leaving my wife and the only child we are allowed to have and our 3 bikes to fend for themselves. We will delve deeper into each and all of these matters during the next couple of hours, and I do so as a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Dr. Denis Leary. You don't believe me? Okay. It's reason number 1 to go and buy the paper version of this book and check out the photograph of the actual degree I received from my alma mater, Emerson College, on the afternoon of May 16th, 2005. Suck on that, Dr. Phil, or as I like to call him, Dr. Full. Hey, I don't know what his actual weight was when he started pushing his diet book, but let's just say he was more than a little puffy and really not what I would call an authority on that particular subject, all right? Hell, he might as well have written a book on how to stop being bald while he was at it. Let me point something out. Dr. Full doesn't even have a license to practice in the state of California, which is where he tapes his daily talk show, okay? Let me point out something else. If I needed to go on a diet, I'd want the guy selling me his diet book not only be thin, but actually be in shape. Is that too much to ask? Now, this is America, where if you're on TV, especially if you appear on Oprah, you must be some kind of authority. Well, I haven't been on Oprah, but I do have my own TV show and a degree that calls me a doctor. So here's my point. If Dr. Phil can write a diet book, then I can sure as hell write a self-help book. And that's really all I'm trying to do here is help you to help yourself and make a shitload of money while I'm doing so, because I really do believe we live in the greatest country on earth. But just like that fixer-upper you got a very good price on, there's still a lot of work left to do. We live in a country that's still very, very young as countries go, and I think the whole idea of the American dream has been convoluted and undone. We live in a country where the first pictures of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's baby were sold for over $4 million. Shit! For $3 million, I'd give you the pictures and the kid. We live in a country where Rosa Parks had the courage and conviction to sit down long enough to start a revolution that led to Al Sharpton screaming racism every time Barry Bonds gets indicted for taking performance-enhancing drugs in order to break a home run record set by a black man who didn't even have the benefit of Advil, okay? A country where, once upon a time, the Presidential Medal of Freedom was given to people who fought for civil rights and equal rights and other matters that made a genuine difference and real contributions to a better future for everyone on the planet. Now it goes to guys who so botched the war on terror that the president has to accept their resignations before they squirm off into the shadows to lick their wounds. We used to honor our living war veterans with respect and bury the dead heroes with dignity. George Bush II avoided Vietnam through privileged connections, shot down the brave deeds of another privileged son, John Kerry, who volunteered to serve, came home with medals on his chest, and made the mistake of thinking the best man might win when he ran against a guy whose administration was caught cremating dead American soldiers from Iraq in a pet cemetery incinerator. Because it was cheaper. That's why. Open ass, insert Oval Office. It's time to tear down the walls of the stupid and the inane and the politically correct and the righteous and the pretentious and the bald and tell them how much they suck and how fat they are and how everything in the Bible is not necessarily true. And no, your hair will never grow back. And yes, you look much older without it. And no, women really don't find bald guys attractive unless you're Marc Messier or a multi-zillionaire or both. It's time to shave your back and pay attention to your kids and buy a bigger size dress and stop wearing spandex until you lose 100 pounds, okay? Skinny jeans are meant for skinny people. In case you don't understand the term skinny, if your ass doesn't fit into a seat at the ballpark or hockey rink or football stadium, you're fat, okay? Too fat for skinny jeans. What would Jesus say? What I just said, only louder. And his hands and feet would be bleeding, so he'd probably be in a very pissy mood. So listen up. I'm trying to help you here, okay? It won't be pretty, but it will be goddamn funny. Strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy-ass roller coaster on fire type of ride. No helmets allowed.